Okay, for our lesson 3, for the modifying commands, you're going to open up your base drawing that we created. Okay, and we're going to concentrate on the modifying commands right here on the Home tab, the Modify panel. So there's Home, or Draw first, and then Modify. So in order to modify something, we're going to have to draw some geometry. So we're going to learn the erase command. So if you'll just click line and just draw a series of lines on the screen. And then to end it, you'll have to hit enter. Okay, so for erase, it is this button that looks like a pencil icon, or you can type enter, and you can click on each line that you want to erase and hit enter when you're done. You can also click erase again, and you can window all the lines. So if I go from the top right across and hit enter, I get rid of all the lines. Let's see what we do if we click erase and go from the left to the right. The only thing that will erase is what's inside the box. So right to left, you can click on, you don't have to put it inside the box. Left to right, it has to be inside the box. Okay, so that's the erase command. Excuse me. Undo it. If I erase and I go, oh, I didn't mean to erase this particular line. Before you hit enter, if you hold down the shift key and click on the line that you want to keep, and that will keep the lines that you want to keep. Okay, also another point, when you're creating a box or a window, is really what it is, a window, you'll have to click on the screen first and then draw the window. If you do this, if you don't click on the screen first and you do this, this is what you get. So sometimes it can be really frustrating for students learning AutoCAD, creating a window. I'm going to hit enter. Okay, so our next command is the offset command. So an offset kind of makes a copy of a particular piece of geometry. So let's use our layers. Let's click on the exterior layer, a wall exterior, and we're going to click line, and we're just going to draw a line up. So we'll have to turn off on our F8 or ortho, go up, and let's put in 36 inches and then hit enter. Now we can zoom out with our scroll wheel so that we can see the entire line. Okay, so offset is O, or this icon right here. So you have to click the offset button, and you have to tell AutoCAD what the distance you want to offset something with. So for instance, if we were creating a wall, an interior wall that's 5 inches thick, we would put 5, enter. And then the command line says select the object you want to offset. So I'm going to click this line, and I can go left or I can go right, which is really important because depending on if you're offsetting interior lines or exterior lines. So I'm going to go to the right, and I'm going to click and hit enter. Okay, so if I come over here and change layers to the door layer, and I draw another line, and I offset it 5 inches. So it's already, if you look at your command line, it's already set at 5 inches. So I'm just going to hit enter, click that line, and go to the left this time, enter. And I have to hit enter to stop the offset command because it will continue offsetting as long as you click something. All right, so notice one thing about the offset command. It has the characteristic of its parent. So you're creating a child-parent relationship. If the parent is exterior wall layer, the child will be the exterior wall layer. So the offset uses the characteristic of what you're offsetting. Okay. All right, so that's the offset command. Now, fillet. So fillet will do several things. So let's draw another line, and we'll come over around here. It doesn't matter. Click, and let's draw a line that's 48. Enter, enter. Okay. All right, so if I wanted to join this line and this line to make a corner, I can use the fillet command without a radius. So here's the fillet command, or you can do F, enter, and look at the command line. It says mode equals trim. So right now it's in the trim mode because there is a 0 radius. So if I click this line, and then I come over, and it has to be perpendicular. Yes, perpendicular lines. And I come and click this line, it creates a corner. And then notice that, it's still the layer that it's on. If I have 2 parallel lines and I click fillet and click this line, it creates a curve. Now, let's draw another line, or let's offset it. Now we can use the offset command. 5 inches down. And let's say that I want a curved corner. Then I would do fillet. And then I would have to put in R for the radius. And let's say I want a 2-inch radius. So I'm going to put 2, enter. And if I click this line and this line, it makes a curved corner. So that is fillet. Now, if I didn't want a curved corner, so let's draw us another line. So I'm going to click the line command, come up here. I'm just going to draw an arbitrary length. And I'm going to come up here and just draw a length, any length I want. Okay, now, if I want to use the chamfer command, if you look at the fillet command, there's a little triangle. Anytime you see a little triangle, it tells you there's commands underneath commands. So if I click that triangle, there is my chamfer command. And it's in trim mode because I have not put any distances in. So undo that. So chamfer again, or CH, I think it is. And so I have to put in a distance. So I'm going to put D for distance. And I'm going to say I want a 3-inch distance in the 0 and a 3-inch distance in the Y. So X and Y. So if I come up here and click this line and this line, it creates a 3-inch squared off corner. So that is chamfer. Okay. Let's say that, let's draw us another line. And let's draw a line this direction. And let's offset the first line at 5 inches for wall thickness. And let's offset this line 15 to the left and 15 to the right. And let's erase the middle. So we've used offset and erase. Okay, our next command is extend. So we're going to extend these lines into the wall thickness. So if you type in EX, and it says extend boundary edges crossing mode projections. So I'm going to click the close to the end of the line, and it sends it to the first line. And then if I click the line again, it sends it to the second line. So that's extend. Okay, now I want to create an opening in this wall to go through to make a door. So I'm going to use the trim command. So the trim command is TR, or this icon here looks like a pair of scissors. So TR, and I click on what I want to get rid of. So I want to get rid of the lines between these two lines. So if I click here and here, so it gets a red X, which means it's going to delete it. Click here and here. I now have an opening in my wall. Now, so I've done offset, erase, offset, fillet, which is a trim or a curve command, chamfer, which makes a cut off command. And then we have done extend and trim. Okay, if I wanted to copy something, so if I wanted to copy this object here, I can click the copy or type in C, enter, and I have to click on each item that I want to make a copy of. So each item, I'll just click on. Okay, so I'm finished selecting the items I want to make a copy of, so I have to hit enter. And I have to select a base point to move the copy away from the original. So I'm going to click down here at the bottom, and I'm going to come over here and just click, and I can click again until I'm done copying. Now, I can also, so I'm going to hit escape. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to copy and select the items. Hit enter because I'm finished selecting. Click the end, so that's my base point. It attaches it to my cursor so that I can move the copy away from the original. And let's say that I know I need a copy of this object 3 feet away. So I can pull my cursor to the right, put in 3 feet, enter, enter. So now if I measure the distance, and you can measure the distance by coming over to this icon that looks like a tape measure, click the little triangle and click distance. And I can measure the distance between these two lines, which is 2'7". So I think it's probably from this line to this line. Yes, 3 feet. So I would have to take that in consideration. If I wanted 3 feet between these two lines, I would have to copy. So I'm going to click copy again. And I'm going to click the endpoint and I'm going to go to the right. So I know the distance between those two lines is 5 inches. So if I do 36 plus 5 is 4'1". And let's see if that. If it ain't. No, I didn't get it. All right. So let's try that again. That's the easier way to do it. Okay, so you have to keep in consideration the measurement of the original object if you want 36 inches between them. Okay, so that's copy. Copy will continue until you have to hit enter to finish the copy. Now, if I want to move something, if I wanted to move this object to this wall, I'll have to do M or the move command, select it, enter, so I'm done selecting, and then I have to pick a base point to move the object by. So I could go straight up when I get the midpoint of this. It's asked, it's finding the midpoint. I'm going to click. Now, where it gets really important to understand selection of base points is I do move again and move it off. If I want the edge, the left side of this object to be attached to this side, I do move and select it. I want this object here. I can't select this side and get it to be where I need it to be. So I have to think ahead of my movements. So I'll click the end of this left line and then come over and click the end of that wall. So I wouldn't be able to click here and put it in the same place. So it just depends on where you click. It's where you're going to get the object moved to. Okay, so that's move. If I wanted this object to face the right, I would have to use rotate. So click rotate, select the object you want to rotate. So there's always, in Modify, there's always the selection. When you're complete selecting things, you have to hit enter. And I'm going to choose the midpoint of this line right here. And then I can go to the right. I can go to the left. I can even go down. Okay, so let me put it back where we had it. Okay, so if I do rotate and select the objects, pick the center of the curve. And I want it to face the right, I can put in 90, enter. Except it didn't face to the right. So if I undo it and do rotate again, select the objects. find the center of the circle. So if I get close to the center, it's that little white dot, click. And I want it to face to the right. I have to put in a -90 to get it to rotate appropriately. If you have your ortho on, then it will always rotate in a straight line. So you don't have to worry about whether you get the correct rotation number in, if it's -90 or 90. Okay. So that's rotate. Okay, the next command we have is mirror. So let's say that I am creating an opening with a curved end here. So I need the curve to face this direction. I can use mirror. So if I click mirror and select the objects that I want to mirror, and I have to hit enter to tell AutoCAD I'm finished. And if I come at the end of the curve here, and that's my first line, and then if I go down and click, that's my second line, and it will ask you if you want to erase the original object. Well, I don't. In this case, I'm just going to hit enter. Okay, so let's say I want to line this up. So I like to use construction lines. So if I draw a line, it's a line, and click at the end of this and click up like that, I can move this object so that it's even with this object. So if I could do move, select all the line, I did left to right so that it include, so if I did right to left, it would include this line. But if you do that, you can hold down the shift key and take that line out. Okay, so I hit enter. I'll pick the end of that curve and move it to the line. Okay, now I can erase the line because I'm finished using it as a construction guide. Okay, so let's say that I want a 30-inch opening. I'm going to draw another construction line. So I drew a line between the opening and drew a line in the middle of the opening. And then I'm going to erase this. So I'm going to use this as my mirror line so that I get a 30-inch opening. So I'm going to click mirror, select all of the objects, enter. Then I'm going to pick the end of the line and then the bottom of the line. And no, I'm not going to erase my original, so I'll just hit enter. Now, if I measure, I have 30-inch opening. So that's mirror. If let's, for instance, if I want to mirror this again, just to show you, I'm going to go this direction now with the window, enter. I'm going to pick the end of this object and then the other end. And this time I'm going to say yes. So why enter? I get rid of the original. I'm going to bring it back by doing undo. Okay. Sometimes you will draw. So let's, for instance, we're going to use the rectangle tool. We're going to click on the screen and we're going to do at 6 foot, 6 foot. So if I put my cursor on it, because it's a polygon, rectangles, triangles, any polygon that you draw, any circle you draw. Really, a circle can't, it's a polyline, but it's special. All right, so if I wanted to do something to one of these lines, let's say offset, and let's do 5, enter. And I click on the box and then I go out. It all offsets. Okay. If I want to just offset one line, I would have to explode the polyline. So X, enter, click on the polyline, enter, and now it's individual lines. So if I do offset, which is set at 5 inches, enter, click this line and go up, it's all individual lines. So that's explode. You want to be careful about exploding like blocks. So for instance, and we'll learn this in the next chapter, plumbing blocks are all glued together. You don't want to explode them because it becomes 1,000 little lines. That's hard to keep up with. You know, now I need to move the plumbing block. Okay, so that is explode. Okay, now we have scale. And I can scale an object. So if I type in or click the scale and select the entire box, enter, I can make the box half the size by giving it a base point and putting in 0.5, enter. So now it's half the size of what it was. I can also scale, select it, and I can put in 2, enter, and it brings it twice the size. Okay, so that's scaling by a scale factor, 0.5, you know, half or 3/4, and then by, you know, 2, 10, whatever. You can also scale by measurement. So let's measure our box. It's 6 feet. Let's say that we really needed all these lines to be 12 feet instead of 6 feet. So I can click scale, select all my objects, enter. I have to give it a base point first. And then I have to I want it to be 12 feet, so I have to give it a reference number. So R for reference, and then I measure that reference. So I'm going to use the bottom line. So I'll click at one corner and go to the next corner and click. And now I want it to be 12 feet, so I can type in 12 feet and enter. And now if we measure it, it's 12 feet. In the X axis and 12 feet in the Y axis. So that is scaling by measurement. Sometimes you will download blocks from the internet that have been made in decimal, and you'll have to scale it to fit inches. So that's a good thing to know. Sometimes you can stretch an object. So stretch is right here. So stretch, I can click on this line, enter, and then click on the end of it, and whoops, I can move it that way, but let's say we're going to stretch this box. So S, enter, and I have to click over the ends of the lines that I want to stretch. I want to stretch horizontally. So click enter after I've selected the endpoints. Enter, pick a base point, and I can stretch this. Now, see, it's increasing the size, decreasing or increasing. It will do either. You want to make sure your ortho's on, because if your ortho's not on when you stretch it, you'll make it crooked. So make sure your ortho's on. So I can stretch 12 inches. So now if I measure, it should be 13 feet. Yep, and it did not affect the y-axis. It's still 12 feet. So that's why you'd want to use stretch in that sense. Okay, now we have array. Array can be done from the modify command, modify panel here, but I prefer the old-fashioned array from eons ago. So if let's click our circle here, do the center diameter, click on the screen, and then we'll type in 42, enter. So this is a 3'6" table that we're going to put chairs away. Okay, so we're going to create our little chair here. So if we click the rectangle tool and click on the screen and do at 12, the small chair. Okay, now I'm going to move it, and I'll have to turn off my ortho in order to move it at a diagonal, move it, no. So I want it to set above the table here. Now I can put back on my ortho. So I would always keep your ortho on. You can turn it off when you need to and then put it back on. Okay, so I want to make the chairs rotate around the center of this table. So I'm going to type in array classic. Array classic, it gives me the array dialog box. If it's a circular array, it's a polar array. And then I need to select the objects that I want to make a copy of to be rotated around the circle. So I have to click select objects and select my chair. This pops back up. So now I need to tell AutoCAD what the center of the array is. The center would be the center of the circle. So I'm going to click this button. When I find the center, I'm going to click. And then it asks me total number of items you want to have rotated around this circle. So let's put in 5, just for the 5. So I'm going to put in 5 and I'm going to click the preview button. Okay, for some reason it didn't array correctly. So let's hit enter. Okay. Total number. We'll find the center of the circle again. I don't think I clicked the center is what I did. Now let's do preview. So good. You can see that sometimes you make mistakes. Instead of hitting escape and erasing everything or undoing everything, you just correct it. So I'm going to hit enter. Again, I'm going to show you, you pick the center. You have to actually click on the center. Let's say we want 6. Do preview. So there are 6 chairs. And then I'm going to hit enter. And then I'm going to say, okay, I want to accept that. Okay, let's make a copy of the chair and the table. Okay, so we're going to do array classic again. It's a polar array. We're going to select our chair, enter. Let's say now we want 4, but we only want it on half of one side. So if I put in 180 here and click preview, I haven't found the center of the circle yet. So that's why it didn't give me a preview. Now click preview. So I only have it on 1/2 of the table. And then I can hit okay when I've accepted it. Okay, so let's copy this there. And let's say that we're going to do a classroom. And we need rows and columns of chairs. Okay, so I'm going to do classic array, array classic again. I'm going to click rectangular. And now it will ask me to select the object. And then I need to decide how many rows and columns. So if I want 5 rows or 4 columns, and then I have to tell AutoCAD the distance to offset that rectangle. So let's do 24. Let's see what that does. And then 24 here. And then let's do a preview. Okay, that looks good. So hit OK. And now we have a row of chairs and desks. So I'm going to check my measurement. 1 foot. So it arrayed it from this edge to this edge, 2 feet. Okay, so you have to keep in consideration the width of the chair. Okay, so that's array. Okay. Now, if you do Z, enter, A, enter, you'll get to see all of your objects. Okay. So let's say, let's make a copy of this line. Up. And then we'll make a copy of the line this way. Okay, so I don't want, I've accidentally made a gap in my wall. And I don't want to have to, I could drag this over to beat it, but it's still, and if I needed to do a line in the midpoint, it's going to give me the midpoint of the individual lines. Let's undo that. I want to join the 2 lines and make them one. So I put J, enter. I'll come up here above on the right, click and window the 2 endpoints. If I do this, it's not going to join it. I have to window the 2 endpoints. Then hit enter. And now if I draw a line from the midpoint, it's going to find the midpoint of the single. Okay. So that's join. Sometimes you need to break a line where it intersects something. So if I type in break, and I want to select that break, the line that I want to break this horizontal line. And I want to tell AutoCAD I want to break it where this wall meets that wall. And now I have individual lines that are broken. Okay. So we have our chair here. And let's do line, click on the screen. Let's do at 4 feet less than 45. Let's go across and do 4 feet. And then we're going to go at 45 less than 315. We have a bay window. So let's offset the bay window 5 inches. So 5's in there, 5 up. And what command are we going to use to fix these walls? I don't think we can use join. We'll try it. Yep. So fillet has to have a radius of 0. So we're going to put R, enter, 0, enter. Now we can join these corners. Now here is my little chair. And I want to align it so that it's at an angle. So I'm going to type in a line, AL for a line. I'm going to select the object I want to align and hit enter. So now it's asking us for the first source point. So I'm going to use this corner and I'm going to align it to the end of this line. I'm going to use the second corner. So this is the second source point. Click this corner, go to the end of the line. And now I'm going to hit enter, enter. And now it rotates that chair. Turn off my ortho for a few minutes. It rotates that chair so it's at the same angle. So that's the alignment. Okay, now sometimes you need to, so let's draw a line between this wall and this. Sometimes you need to use AutoCAD to measure things. So let's first go up to Format and click Point Style. And right now the point style is set at a little dot. So I'm going to cancel a minute. If I type in point and I click on the screen, right here, this little tiny dot, you can barely see, is a point. If I go up to Format and Point Style, I can switch it to something that's a little more easy to see. So let's go for this X. Okay, now I have an X. So that's important. All right, so let's say that in this room, every 2.5 every 2.5 feet, we're going to draw a line. All right, so I'm going to do measure, enter. It's asking me to select the object I want to measure. I'm going to click this line. And then it asks me to tell the AutoCAD what the length is. So let's put in 1 foot 6 for 18 inches. Okay, so it has placed a dot or a point every 18 inches on that line so that I can now attach a line every 18 inches. Okay. All right, and the dots or the points don't go away unless you erase them. Okay, so let's draw another line. And let's say that, it's a line and I want to divide it evenly so that I have, 6 segments. So if I type in divide, select the object, and then it's asked me how many segments do I want. So let's put in 6, enter. Now the line's divided evenly in 6 segments. And now I can attach a line at each one of those points. And that is divide. So those are the most commonly used modification items.